that, people who are doing hybrid worship. And they've said that actually it is important for the people who are present to be able to see the people who are worshiping remotely, at least at one point. Otherwise, it feels really disconnected. So you tease, but I actually think that will happen. I think we're live. Do you think we're live?
It says live.
It says live on Zoom.
I don't see it yet on Facebook. Leah.
Yes, I got it on Facebook.
Okay. So, and I've shared it to my timeline. Great. So, hey, everybody who's joined us on Facebook. Welcome to Reign of Christ Sunday. It's the last Sunday in the liturgical calendar. And we want to pause here at the beginning, just so that people have a chance to find us. And we also want to pause so that you have a chance to share our live stream broadcast on your Facebook page or Twitter or Instagram, wherever it is that you hang out on the internet. I'm going to pull that up right now so I can see the folks who are worshiping with us. Oh, there are already so many people joining us on Facebook. And hey, if you would, if you're on Facebook and worshiping today, be sure to say something. Say hello or type peace whenever it's time for the passing of the peace, so that our folks who are tracking attendance can see who's worshiping with us on Facebook and who is worshiping with us on Zoom. It makes their lives easier. Be sure too to pull up your bulletin, which is located both on the Community United Church of Christ Facebook page and also on our website. So friends, I want to say to you that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. And we really mean that. Welcome to this virtual space that is Community United Church of Christ. We are gathered from across the miles, both here in Champaign-Urbana, and there are folks with us in Illinois and in Indiana. There are folks who are worshiping with us on the other side of the globe today. It is truly a blessing to be together. So friends, we live in a rapidly changing world. People are anxious. Of course they are. And tensions run high. How might our faith inform our living so that we could draw from a deep well of serenity, even as we find ourselves amid a tumultuously parched landscape, so that we might lead with loving kindness? That's the question that we're asking ourselves during this 3 Sunday mini-series on faith and community. We're going to look at these guideposts, the guideposts of our faith that help us find our way through. And this week, we're going to focus on gratitude and how the practice of gratitude grounds us in that which is sacred. All along, we've been drawing on the wisdom found in this book, Turning to One Another, Simple Conversations to Restore Hope to the Future. It's by Margaret J. Wheatley. She proposes a really simple process that helps us regain our vocation of being human, and that is having conversations with each other that get past us and them and get to what it means to be human with each other. And so this morning, we begin with these words from Wheatley. Sacred is nothing special, she says. It's just life revealing its true nature. Life's true nature is wholeness. In a sacred moment, I experience that wholeness. I know why I belong here. As we begin worship this morning, let this gorgeous music, Brian playing For the Beauty of the Earth, wash over you. Let it remind you of why you belong here. Welcome to worship.
Leah, I am not a host.
I noticed that. Let me make Andy a host, and then he can play our prelude for us. My goodness, that was gorgeous. What a blessing. Thank you, Brian. Bryn Schuler is our liturgist this morning, and she's going to lead us in our call to worship.
Come and seek together the salvation of God. Welcome the stranger. Redistribute the resources. Tend needs and practice mutual care. Abolish all that imprisons. Make a joyful noise and enter God's gates with thanksgiving. This is the way of Christ. Let the old ways be left behind. Love has come to free us.
And friends, as we enter worship this morning, let's join our hearts and minds together in prayer. Spirit of God, holy is your wisdom. You reveal all that has narrowed our imagination, confined our world views, and distorted our sense of what is possible. Come and help us create anew. Within and between us, nurture our creativity in the simple and serious work of love. Amen. Our opening hymn this morning is Come, O Thankful People, Come. Let's sing together. It's led by John and Kathy and David.
Come, O thankful people, come, raise the sun of harvest home. All is safely gathered in, as the winter storms begin. God, a maker, does provide for wants to be supplied. Come to God's own temple, come, praise the Son of harvest home. All the blessings of the field, all the stores the gardens yield, all the fruits in full supply, ripen beneath the summer sky. All that spring with bounteous hand scatters o'er the smiling land. All that liberal autumn pours from its rich o'erflowing stores. These to you, our God, we owe, source from whom all blessings flow. And for these our songs we raise, grateful vows and solemn praise. Come and thankful people, come, raise the Son of harvest home. Come to God's own temple, come, raise the Son of harvest home.
Amen. Friends, on this Reign of Christ Sunday, when we gather in gratitude and thanksgiving to God, the peace of Christ is with you. Peace be with you. Amen. You're invited to share signs of peace in the comments or the chat. And if you're here on Zoom, take some turns like unmuting yourself so that people can see your faces. Peace be with you.
Peace.
Peace, everybody.
Everybody.
Peace be with
Be
you.
with
Peace.
you.
Peace with you all.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with
Peace
you.
with you.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Peace. Peace.
Peace.
You're muted, Leah dear.
Thank you. I want to invite our kiddos to gather around for the children's moment, whether you're on Facebook or on Zoom. And there are lots of people on Facebook, by the way. A few folks have come and gone, but there are like 22 people watching over there right now. And I want to ask you, what is going to happen this week? Anybody know? Is there anything, I don't know, special that's going to happen this week?
Thanksgiving.
Yes, Thanksgiving. Now, I have another question though. Is Thanksgiving going to be different than it is normally?
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna Zoom and then we're gonna eat a little bit together. And then we're gonna leave the Zoom. And then after Thanksgiving, like the day after, we're gonna have Buffalo Wild Wings and decorate gingerbread houses.
So here's the thing. That sounds different, but it sounds really great, actually. Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, anybody else? Is it going to be different for you?
I'm going to check to see if anybody's writing in the chat.
I'll speak for Dahan. So we
Sure.
had hoped we might be able to quarantine and visit with some family. And then we found out that one of Dahan's classmates tested positive for COVID, but because the lines are so long, I mean, the wait time, this is like a week ago.
Yeah.
Person was positive, so he was at school with that person. So our plans have changed, and it's a bummer, but we're really glad we know. So our plans changed, and we had a lot of negative feelings about that because it's hard to just roll with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing that I wanted to talk with you all about a little bit, that all of our plans have had to change, and maybe we've had to change plans 2 and 3 and 4 times. Pastor Nate and I had a conversation about changing plans a couple of weeks ago. He's had to change plans for campus ministry nearly every time that he's made plans. This happens. And the real thing about the holiday of Thanksgiving, this American holiday of Thanksgiving, is that it reminds us to be grateful in all things, even when our plans have to change, even when we have to do something different. The practice of gratitude reminds us to look around and see what it is that we're grateful for out here and in here as well. And sometimes whenever crummy things happen, remembering to be grateful for the things that we can be grateful for helps us to move past that crumminess. So I wondered if you all could tell me one thing that you're grateful for. And grown-ups, you can do this too. I wondered if you could, you can unmute yourselves and say the thing, or you can write it in the chat or in the comments. What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful that I can still play with my friends in my neighborhood.
Yeah. And I bet playing with them looks a lot different right now, right? Because you have to be outside and we should be wearing masks and we got to stay away from each other, but we can still wave at each other and be, 6 feet or further away from each other outside. Chloe and Violet say they're grateful for friends and family life and food and water and shelter and pets and Wi-Fi and the internet. Oh, and me. Thanks, Lovey.
Sorry, Dahan was saying he's grateful that he can keep going to school even though it's remote school now. He really gets a lot out of just being with his friends that way, even though it's different.
Yeah, it's different, but there's still things to be grateful for in the middle of that. Randy says that he's grateful for family and friends. Chloe says that she's grateful for this time together. What else? Grown-ups, you can do this too.
I'm grateful for family.
Yes, very grateful for our families. Chloe says she's grateful for this time together most of the time. Bryn says that I'm still getting better from my stroke every day. Every day I get better, and she's grateful for that. Nate says that he's grateful for John and Sue's new puppy in the Zoom worship this morning. We got to see their new dog before worship started. Fred says that he's grateful, that's my dad, by the way, that he's grateful for family and friends who are safely staying isolated so that we can celebrate together next year. Yeah, I'm grateful for that too. Anybody else? What are you grateful for? Linda Morgan says that she's grateful for family and for helpful strangers. Linda, I bet you are grateful for helpful strangers because a stranger took really good care of you last week, and we're all grateful for that stranger too. Doris, that's my mother-in-law, says that she's grateful for friends and family and for good health. Grandma, we're grateful for that too. John and Sue say that they're grateful for this wonderful community. Shane and Christy say that they're grateful for art, for movies and music and nature, and in addition to friends, family, and her dog, of course, one of the church dogs. Carla says that she's grateful for this loving and fun community that she now gets to be a part of. And Carla, we're grateful for that too. We're really grateful for you and the way that you've helped us stay connected during this time. Jessica says that she's grateful for supportive connections from family and friends and for her cat Jasper. Elizabeth says that she's grateful for furnace repair folks. Amen to that. Jennifer says she's grateful for family time and our dog, and more turkey and pie for our small family, and for CUCC, and for music, and for Champaign-Urbana. Connie is grateful for the technology that allows us to still be connected even at a distance, and grateful for the opportunities to learn new things and new ways of doing things. Connie and I have spent a lot of time on the phone talking about all of the ways in which this pandemic time has challenged us to do things in new ways, and what a gift that is. Tom and Jean say that they're grateful for beautiful fall sunsets this week. And Roger and Peg say that they're grateful for our wonderful CUCC family. Over on Facebook, Andrea says she's grateful for health and well-being. And Matt says that he's grateful that his family remains healthy during this horrible plague. Grateful for his extended family at CUCC. Izzy is grateful for virtual game nights. Janelle is grateful that Liam is home from college. David is grateful for family and framily and friends. Family is a combination of family and friends. Donna says that she's grateful that friends and family and coworkers have been healthy and safe during this trying time. And Sue says she's grateful for her camera. Sue, we are grateful for your camera too, because your pictures bless us. So I want to talk to the kids again. I want you to remember this, right? That we started off talking about how Thanksgiving is going to be different and people are sick and we have to change our plans and all of that's hard. But then whenever we asked everybody what we were grateful for, we had this like overwhelming abundance of gratitude. Remembering what we are grateful for changes us. So I want you to keep doing that this week. Keep reminding yourself what you're grateful for. It will change you in good ways. I also want to thank you for making Thanksgiving cards for our Jubilee Cafe guests. I know that they appreciate those bits of joy in their sacks of groceries. So thanks for doing that. Our next hymn is called We Gather Together, and Elena is going to lead it. Let's sing.
We gather together to ask for God's blessing, to live in community, seeking God's will. We come now as sisters
Amen. Bryn is going to read our scripture for us today.
Whether we take what is written in the Bible as fact, metaphor, myth, or story, let us listen now to the meaning they might hold for us on this day. A sacred reading from the Psalms, Psalm 100. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come into God's presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God who made us, and we are God's. We are God's people and the sheep of God's pasture. Enter God's gates with thanksgiving and courts with praise. Give thanks to God. Bless the Holy One's name. For the Lord is good, whose steadfast love endures forever, and faithfulness to all generations. Together, let us say, may the Spirit bless us with wisdom and wonder as we ponder the meaning of these words for our lives.
Thanks, Bryn. We begin this morning with words from Mary Oliver. The summer day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper, this grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out onto the grass, the one who's eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Friends, from across the miles, let us join together and pray. O God, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of each of our hearts be found acceptable in your sight, for you are our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. So when November rolled around, I decided to do one of those gratitude challenges. You know, the ones, there's like a list of topics that you attach your practice of gratitude to. And every day you go to that list and it points your gratitude in a certain way. I wasn't expecting much from this exercise, honestly. As with most things in pandemic life, I have greatly lowered my expectations about all things. Besides, I picked up this habit in the days preceding the election. My mind was already full, nervous, and preoccupied with what might be after that Tuesday. So I decided I would journal about these gratitude things, these things about which I was thankful every day before I went to bed. And I crawled into bed on that first day of November, picked up my journal, and tended to the first prompt. What smell are you grateful for? Well, that's easy, I am always and forever grateful for the way the house smells on Thanksgiving morning, for the smell of the turkey roasting in the oven, for the smell of pies and dressing, for the anticipation of family's arrival hanging in the air along with it, laughter and card playing and stories. I love it. I love all of that. Except this year it will be different, I wrote in my journal, followed by, and we'll make the best of it. I wrote that when honestly, y'all, what I wanted to write was, and we wouldn't be in this mess if it weren't for, and then list all of my grievances. But I refrained because this is a practice of gratitude, not a practice of grievances. Truthfully, though, I went to bed thinking that this gratefulness practice is a load of horse manure. I was not feeling very thankful. The next day's question was, what technology are you grateful for? And of course, my answer is Zoom and Wi-Fi and live streaming on Facebook. For as much as I grieve that we cannot be in person, this virtual space that we've created has truly been a blessing. And we've learned so much about who we are as a church and what it means to be church together. Truly, I think we've experienced the love of God in the depth of our care during these months. And for that, I am grateful. And at the same time, couldn't we have learned that without all of this, without illness and unrest? Again, I had thoughts about hogwash and I went to bed. Day 3 rolled around in this practice of gratitude, and then day 4 and day 5. And I found myself writing more and more as these questions moved me to think of things beyond my immediate scope. What color are you grateful for? Oh, I'm grateful for the first green of spring, that color that you don't think actually exists outside of the crayon box until it surprises you every spring. And what food are you grateful for? I'm grateful for Golden Harbor, which we ordered the day after the election because we were all so tired and too tired to cook. And I was grateful for the way that tangy spice makes my head sweat, the way that food feels not only good, but good for me. I kept at it because that's what you do with practices. You keep practicing them even when you think they are hogwash and horse manure. So I kept practicing this day in and day out. Later, on day 11, a question about holidays came up again, and I wrote about Thanksgiving again. But this time with less bitterness. This time it came with far more, well, gratitude and more resolve for adapting to what will be this year instead of clinging to what will not be. It moved me to focus not on my own expectations, not on my own selfishness, but beyond to the wider world around me that is, frankly, overflowing with abundance. This is how the practice of gratitude works and works in us. Reverend Quinn Caldwell says, it combats individualism and the belief that I created or achieved it all by myself, he says. Especially for those of us with much privilege, it forces us to reflect on how much is given or granted that is unearned, and how little is achieved by my own merit alone. These days, when we are all so much in our own heads because we're at home all the time and maybe we're alone more often than not, perhaps alone more than we've ever been in our own lives. This practice of gratitude draws us out of our own stuff and back into the world, where, as Mary Oliver puts it, we're invited over and over again to pay attention and to fall down into the grass, to kneel down in the grass, and most importantly, to be idle and blessed. This is what gratitude and thanksgiving does. It reminds us that we are truly blessed. Friends, perhaps that's what the psalmist means when the psalmist writes that we're supposed to enter God's gates with thanksgiving. Maybe that's what that looks like. Maybe it looks like paying attention and receiving blessing. For if the world is a cathedral of God's own making, we have to go no further than simply into our front yard to enter God's gates. And if we are created in God's own image, we need do nothing more than to be still, or as Mary Oliver puts it, to be idle. Idle in our own bodies, so that we could know that we are blessed. We would be wise, though, not to be myopic in our view of gratitude. Not everything called gratitude is really all that helpful, Reverend John Gage writes. Gratitude that maintains a constant laundry list of blessings, he says, of haves and also have-nots, is necessarily temporary, comparative, and competitive. As if the people with the bigger house are more blessed than you, which is simply not true. Gage continues, gratitude that is grounded in presence and relationship in connection to God, one's neighbor, and oneself, on the other hand, is profoundly countercultural. It moves from desiring a kind of abundance of stuff that never materializes and is never enough to an abundance of being that is always with us because it is us. Gratitude is knowing that we, you and I, are enough for this moment. Even if we don't feel it presently, friends, we are enough for this moment because God, who is the very definition of enough, is always with us. And Gage concludes, God is always with us, not just in our blessings, but in our very beings. God is with us, not just in our blessings, but in our very beings. The practice of gratitude comes most fully alive, not when we give thanks for our belongings, but when we give thanks for simply being and belonging. Sacred is nothing special, Margaret Wheatley writes. It's just life, revealing its true nature. Life's true nature is wholeness. In a sacred moment, I experience that wholeness, she says, and I know why I belong here. What will you do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver writes. What more is there to do? What more is there to do but to pay attention and to know that we are truly, truly blessed.
You made this world, you made this world, you made this world. Thank you, thank you. You gave me life, you gave me life, you gave me life. Thank you, thank you. You brought this peace, you brought this peace, you brought this peace. You sowed these seeds, you sowed these seeds, you sowed these seeds. Thank you. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Open me, open me. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Open me, open me, You kept me warm, you kept me warm, you kept me warm. When I was in the wasteland, when I was in the wars, when I was all alone. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Open me, open me, open. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Open me, open your love, love. Your love. Open me, open me, yeah. Well, let it come through me now. Let it come through me now. Let it come through me now. Let it come through. Let it come through me now. Let it come through me. Let it come through me. Let your love, love.
Everywhere, everywhere.
Your love is everywhere. Open me, open me, open. Your love is everywhere. Your love is everywhere. Oh, you're everywhere. Open me, open me, open me. Open me, oh yeah. Open me, yeah. You made this world, you made this world, you made this world. Thank you, thank you.
Amen. Today, our call to offering, the last in our stewardship series about a cultivation of hope, is brought to us by Chase Sky. Chase.
Gosh, uh, we got a mishap here. Gosh, um, we got a mishap here. Well, okay. I thought it was next week, but I happen to have it here. I just realized. I'm sorry. Um, just wanted to say that these are some things that I'm just real thankful for, and I'm glad that I'm a part of this church and this church family. Um, Here I was welcomed, and I became a member with all of you. Here I was blessed and celebrated as Chase, just as I truly am. Here I was able to go on a mission trip and learn more about myself and how to help others. Here I was also able to serve and to help my gifts to grow. Here I am able to belong and to be a part of. Here I am, so thankful and able to give with my pledge.
Thank you, Chase, so much. And thanks for being so nimble and grabbing your booklet. Thanks for that, because it was a really powerful testimony to the cultivation of hope that's happened in you. So as Adrienne Marie Brown writes, we are all invited to live at the speed of transformation, and that we have the ability to shape the future in which we all live. You're invited to do that in one way, by giving of your gifts of time and talent and treasure to the work of this local community of faith. So if you have money to give, you can go to www.community-ucc.org and click donate, where you can give. And we thank you so much, because your gifts equal a cultivation of hope for so many. Our offertory today is Simple Gifts, and it's played by the CUCC Chime Choir. Let's listen. So it's the last day of our annual stewardship campaign. It's the day when we give thanks for all of the gifts and the blessings that have been bestowed on this community of faith. And so I want to invite our stewardship chairs now to talk with us a little about our stewardship campaign and to lead us in a prayer of dedication.
Well, it's been an uncertain and difficult year, to say the least, and we appreciate all the gifts of money, time, and talent that each of you have invested in our church and its programs. Thank you to everyone who's pledged to the 2021 Stewardship Campaign and made a commitment to continue your sustaining support of CUCC. As of yesterday, we've received pledges from 48 households for a total of $164,095. And some of those individuals or households have been pledging for the first time this year, so thank you. So we're still about $28,000 down from last year's pledge total, but we know we have a few more coming in. And it's not too late if you'd still like to pledge. Leah gave the link. I'm going to paste it into the chat when I'm done. And in about 2 weeks, the Church Life Board is going to meet to set the budget for the next year. And we use the final total of the pledges to base the budget for the church and its programs for 2021. So what you pledge makes our services and programs possible. So these pledges represent our work and our commitment to the church. They're pledged in thanksgiving for what we've received and for all we've been inspired and challenged to become in this place. Let us pray together. God, we are blessed to give, and what a delight it has been. We are grateful for the opportunity to root our congregation ever more deeply in the ministries to which we are called as a community. Together, by your grace, we cultivate hope. We have come before your table with gifts, gifts of ourselves, gifts of risk, gifts of newness, gifts of trust. We dedicate them to you. In doing so, we are willing to continue in our giving so that our neighbors near and far might be blessed by you through this ministry. We pray that we and all whom our gifts bless will never be the same. Through our greatest gift, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen. At this time, we want to invite you to list your prayer requests in the comments and in the chat so that we can lift those to God, knowing that we hold the Christ light for one another in the shadow of our fears. That's what we do when we share our deepest hurts and concerns and fears with one another. Becky Sheridan shares this prayer request. It's in the form of a letter to all of you from Becky and Jan's neighbor, Rosine Ekra Yao. Rosine says, I wanted to thank you and the members of your church for your kindness and your prayers for the Ivory Coast. For people who may not know, the Ivory Coast is a French-speaking country in the west part of Africa where 26 million people live. Rosine writes, since August 6th of this year, many people are being killed in the Ivory Coast. We count around 80 people having been killed as of November of 2020. These people are being assassinated because they are against the president dictator. President is in quotes in her letter. And then she lists the person's name, Alassane Dramane Ouattara, but they're not capitalized, the words. And she says, I refuse to use capital letters to write his name because he is so despicable. This dictator is violating the Ivory Coast Constitution that states that a president can only serve 2 terms. He did serve 2 terms from 2010 through 2020, and now he refuses to leave and declares himself president for another 5 years, a 3rd term. And people who oppose him are either killed or put in jail. He refuses that people protest Peaceful walk against his practices are prohibited, and people are afraid in their own country. There is no more freedom, she writes. The worst happened a few weeks ago when a young man was decapitated for protesting, and his killers played soccer with his head. We are daughters and sons of the Ivory Coast, and we cannot stay quiet. We have to tell the world about what is happening in the Ivory Coast. Please keep the Ivory Coast still in your prayers. Sincerely, Rosine Ekra Yao. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. We move now to prayers from our faith community. Jonaline asks for prayers of healing for Jeff's Uncle Jim, who is on a ventilator and dialysis battling COVID. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Tom and Jean ask for prayers for the children of, I'm sorry, I just pressed the wrong button and lost the prayer request. Hang on. Prayers for the children of Cunningham Children's Home who are back to remote learning again, and for whom remote learning is just not a satisfactory option for education. Prayers for them and for the wonderful adults who continue to try to help them learn in spite of the obstacles of the pandemic. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Jessica Smiley asks for continued prayers for her dad. He is hospitalized and recovering from a stroke. Also, prayers for her mom, who will not be with her dad over the holiday. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Kathy asks for prayers of gratitude for healthcare workers who take on the overwhelming burden of COVID-19 every day with no end in sight. She says, we love and thank you, and we grieve with you. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Carla asks for prayers of healing for her cousin's daughter who gave birth to her 8th child on November 17th. The baby is in the NICU, and Carla's cousin's daughter recovers from the emergency delivery. Her husband is home with their other children, where all are waiting for mom and the baby's return home. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Mary Lou offers prayers of thanks for the returning health of her sister-in-law after sepsis and COVID. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Randy asks for or offers prayers of gratitude for all of the prayers for David. And they're doing okay now and wants to thank all of us. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Rosine, you are here with us on Zoom. Rosine, whose letter I just read. You are welcome. And please know that our prayers are with you and the people of the Ivory Coast and your family and friends who are there and who are afraid. God, grant strength and courage and grant a way through. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Jonaline asks for prayers of hope and strength for healthcare workers, especially the ICU teams. She says, we are tired and anxious and scared for our community. The grief is overwhelming. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Megan offers prayers of gratitude for the healing of good friends who suffered with COVID-19. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Chase offers prayers of gratitude for a high school friend who gave me a table and chairs this week. She's moving, and she's a wonderful friend who's been there for me, especially through my crises in the last few years, especially. For good friends and their generosity, God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Aaron offers prayers of comfort and belonging for everyone who's feeling isolated and depressed in this holiday week. Prayers for the neighbor who was talked out of suicide on Prospect Avenue yesterday. Prayers for overworked and exposed healthcare workers during this time of pandemic and depression. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. We move now to Facebook and prayers that are offered there. Doris, my mother-in-law, offers prayers for the Pierce family. Her sister-in-law, my husband's Aunt Phyllis, died over this weekend. And so we offer prayers for their family as they grieve mother, who's called Tutu by their grandchildren and who is known as Aunt Phyllis to the rest of us. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Ramona asks for prayers for her friend Jen, whose dad has COVID-19 on top of COPD. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Kristen, one of our campus ministry alums, Kristen, asks for prayers for the physical, emotional, and mental health for frontline workers. May we listen to them when they say they are tired. May we love our neighbors. May we love our neighbors enough to follow the guidelines that they beg us to follow. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. Ramona also offers prayers for the man who was talked down from the Prospect overpass yesterday. May he get the help that he needs. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. David also asks for prayers for the Pierce family while they grieve the loss of Phyllis, wife, mother, mother-in-law, aunt, and Tutu to many grandchildren, and a friend to so many. God, in your mercy, hear our prayers. I don't see any other prayer requests on Zoom or on Facebook. Somebody tell me differently if you see more. And friends, if there are more, we'll catch those at the end of worship. Together, scattered as we are across the miles, remember that Christ's body is always gathered together as one body. It is true that the seeds that are scattered that are then gathered together in bread and in one loaf, and it is true of us that we are scattered across the miles, but in this moment of communion of the souls, we are gathered together in one body. And so together, let us pray. Holy, good, and loving God, we come to you with gratitude on our lips and with much sorrow and fear in our hearts. There's so much difficulty in our world in these days, God. There is a pandemic which is spiraling out of control. We give you thanks for the people who work for the common good, community leaders and healthcare workers and all those who serve. And God, we know that they are so very tired and angry and afraid. And so, Holy One, we ask that your Spirit would be a balm to their souls and that you would strengthen them and give them courage for the days ahead. Holy One, we pray for the people in our own lives who are suffering with illness, be that illness in our bodies or illness in our minds. We are made so very aware of this by the public suicide attempt that happened in our community this weekend. And Holy One, we pray that you would surround people who are hurting with what they need, with comfort and healing and hope for tomorrow. And God, if there are ways that we might be the bearers of those things, then send us. Here we are, Lord, here we are, send us. God, we continue to pray for people a world away, for people who are in fear of what is happening in their country, not just for our beloved brothers and sisters and siblings in the Ivory Coast, but in all parts of the world, in this part of the world, where there is so much tension and disagreement, and where there's violence. God, bring your peace. And Holy One, this week, as we look forward to this holiday, it is so different. And so God, may your Spirit surround each of us as we continue to give thanks, as we adapt and shift and pivot so that we might keep one another safe, God. Bless our celebrations, no matter how different they may be. Bless them and be present in them so that we might know we are blessed in all things. And now, God, for all of these prayers, those that are spoken from my lips and those that are whispered from the depths of our hearts, all of these we entrust to you in your many holy names, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. It is time for the commissioning of the community, that moment when we commission you to go out and be the church in the world. And after the commissioning of the community, we'll close with a hymn, Now Thank We All Our God. So I want to remind you that Advent starts a week from today. Can you believe that Advent is here? So you all, local CUCCers, you should have gotten an Advent kit either last week or this week, and maybe it's still on the way. And in your kit, you have these table tents that are from the SALT community, and you just fold these, and you fold the end tabs like this, and then you can tape these together. And then this just sits on your dining room table or on your kitchen table, and you can use one each week. There's one for each weekend for Christmas. And we would invite you to use these resources with the people in your household, to light a candle. And thanks to all of you who came to the Advent wreath making workshop last week. It was so fun to do that together. Read the scripture, use the reflection, talk about the practices, and then read the Hygge for the holiday, which is there on each table tent, and pray the prayer. Use it all week, spread the readings out so that you have something to do each day. And I want to tell you, if you live by yourself, maybe get in touch with another CUCCer and make plans to use that together with each other over the phone or over a video chat throughout the week. And we're going to do this together all Advent. I do want to remind you too that if you're interested in this Danish idea of Hygge, and if you want to be even more cozy during this Advent season, this is a fantastic little book, The Little Book of Hygge, The Danish Secrets to Happy Living. It's by Mike Winking, and Chloe and I have read it. It's really wonderful, and we are working on being more cozy during this Advent season. Also, friends, in your Advent kit, you should have gotten instructions for lighting your Christmas Eve candles, and you should have gotten your own candle for Christmas Eve with a Beaubachet, fancy church word for the little piece of paper that makes the wax not drip on your hand. And we want to invite all of you to film a video of you lighting your candle and then passing the light to the person next to you. And Andy is going to splice all those together for our Christmas Eve worship service. Those instructions are on the green sheet. Last but not least, about Advent, and then I'm sure Kathy has a word to say about Advent music. Remember that we have this Advent a day word that we're focusing on, where we're inviting you to showcase a Christmas ornament or something that you use to make your house more cozy during the Advent season, and that you have a link to that in your November communigram. We'd love for you to sign up so that we can be part of one another's Advent celebrations this year. Kathy, do you have a word about music for us?
I don't have too much to say because most people who have signed up and you're doing awesome. But if you do get an email from me saying, hey, I really need your music now, just please be attentive to that. It takes a little while to smoosh everything together. So a few of you who signed up for things later in December, I may not have reached out to you yet. But those of you who have things, that you're singing for the next couple of weeks, I've probably reached out. So go tell it on the mountain, kids. I'm sending one more email today just saying, for real, get on it, all of y'all. And it's been really fun working with new people. I'm so appreciative of people who have not often done music with us, but are stepping up and trying it right now. So even though the end result for you is not always exactly what you want, that's sort of the leap of faith we all take with music these days, is that you're more exposed than usual. You don't have total control over how it's going to end up, but we're so grateful for everyone who's giving it a whirl. And so I really appreciate all of you. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. Carrie Evans reminds you that if you participated in our Advent wreath making workshop last week, to please send her a photograph of your wreath so that we can feature those on social media so that we can all see each other's final products. It was really fun to do that. David Wilcox wants you to know that it looks like the Kindle version of the Hygge book might be free. That might require a Prime membership, but he thinks that the Kindle version of that is free. How fun is that? Are there other announcements? Because then I have just a couple of notes about things that are happening in December.
Campus Ministry has something.
Yeah,
so
go
we'll
for
talk
it.
about that. We've got some fun things coming up and then we're happening. We did a game night and we're going to do some more of those. And that's been a lot of fun. Our Bible studies continuing every Sunday at noon. This Sunday, we're going to be looking at Genesis and talking about beginnings. And we'll do that a little bit before moving into Adventist stuff, which is another sort of beginning. So I think that'll segue in, a little untraditional, but a lot of fun, I hope. And some other great news to Campus Ministry. We have received one of the grants we applied for. We got some feedback on that. It was a lot of work and it all came together. So we're really excited about that and some of the awesome things that that's going to allow us to do. So good news there. And lastly, most of the students are finding their way safely to spend time with their homes. They're going back home because school's kind of in class is wrapping up, but some are not. And some are going to be stuck here in the community. And normally we would do something for them in ways that would bring us together, but we can't really do that as much. So what I'm asking is if there's any families who are doing like the big traditional Thanksgiving, and you're probably going to have leftovers because you're going to be doing it in smaller groups than maybe you normally do. If you would put together a loving plate then I could hand deliver that to the doorstep of some of the students that are here. We don't have very many. It'll only be a few students. So I don't need every family who's doing a traditional Thanksgiving dinner to sign up. But if you could send me an email or message or somehow communicate with me, there's only it's probably going to be, I'm still collecting names, probably only between 2 and 4 students. So we don't need that many families. But we would love to be able to give them a little bit of delicious Thanksgiving tradition from your home to theirs. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Nate. Congratulations to Campus Ministry on their grant from the National Office of the United Church of Christ. That's really, really exciting. Are there any other announcements? Mary Lou, yes?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who helped with stewardship this stewardship season. It wasn't just Elizabeth and me, it was a whole crew of people who helped write the brochure, did the calls to offering, all kinds of things. And so those people are all listed in the Communigram or newsletter for December. So please take a look at that. I won't name everybody here, but thank you so much to everybody. And thank you, Chase, for today.
Thank you so much. Anybody else?
I've got one for the kiddos, Leah, real quick.
Yep, Julie.
So just a reminder, families, if your kiddos are doing Thanksgiving cards for Jubilee Cafe, that we need to get those in. There's a few different options for doing that. You can get them to me. I'll send out a reminder email after church with my address and everything. Leah, I think you volunteered for your house to be a drop-off place. If you're somebody who's, I live in West Champaign, Leah lives in Urbana. And so if that's an easier place, side of town to get things, is that okay?
That is, and I leave my house around 1:30 for Jubilee on Mondays. So as long as I get it before then, I'll be able to take it.
Okay, great. And so I just wanted to show Cora dropped some at my house this week. So she did a very lovely job coloring, put a nice little message on the inside. Yeah, we'd love to just get as many as we can. I know there are already some that are in an envelope at church inside the entryway there where they set up for Jubilee Cafe. So just remember to get those to me or to Leah or to church soon so that we can bless the people who come to pick those up. And from hearing all of our prayer requests today, it sounds like there's just a lot of people in this community, and especially I'm sure the folks who are coming to Jubilee Cafe that could use any little amount of extra encouragement and love right now. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Julie. So friends, a note about this week. Carla is taking a much deserved week off. So Carla is not going to be in the office this week. You won't be getting a weekly email, but we will meet right back here again next week for the first Sunday in Advent. 2 notes about December. As we heard during the prayer requests, lots of people are struggling this year. Your health and wellness team decided to put together a program on loneliness. So we're going to have a conversation via Zoom about loneliness on December 1st at 5:30. The information about that is in your December communigram. And then our longest night worship service, which is the worship service of the year that names the fact that this is not always the most wonderful time of the year for people. And that will surely be the case this year. That will happen on December 13th, also at 5:30. Any other announcements? No. Then
Leah?
Yes.
Leah,
Yes, Carla.
I included a note in the weekly email about today is the Interfaith Thanksgiving event. And
Thank you.
I didn't double check, but I was looking while during worship was happening. It's all online. There's no event at the library or at the WCIA parking lot. It's all online. So go online and they're looking for what you're thankful for. And then at 5 o'clock on Zoom, you can join the candle lighting. So I apologize for that. I didn't go back and look to see if anything had changed with the change in direction from the governor, and that everything's online. So stay safe, stay home, but go online and post what you're thankful for. And then 5 o'clock, join the Zoom and the candle lighting.
Carla, thank you so much. It's actually at the top of my notes for today and I blew right past it. So
there's lots of things happening.
There are. Thank you. Thank you for keeping us all on track. And yeah, that the Interfaith Alliance has put together a really wonderful interfaith Thanksgiving event today. So please join us at 5 p.m. on Zoom. Now, for our closing hymn, it's Now Thank We All Our God, and it's led by Kathy and David and Xiao Yi. Let's sing.
Now thank we all our God with heart and hands and voices, who wondrous things has done, in whom this world rejoices, who from our parents' arms has blessed us on our way with countless gifts of love, and still is ours today. Oh, may this bounteous dawn through all our life be near us, with ever joyful hearts and blessed peace to cheer us, and keep us still in grace, and guide us when perplexed, and free us from all ills in this world and the next. All praise and thanks to God, our Maker, now be given, to Christ and spirits true, our help in highest heaven. The one eternal God, who earth and heaven adore, for thus it was, is now, and shall be evermore.
There's a note on Facebook from Kristen who says that the online pledge form is not working for her.
Oh, no.
Hey, David, what is the financial secretary email, please?
It's financial-secretary@community-ucc.org.
Awesome. We will we will put that in the chat on, or the comments on Facebook as well.
That's interesting. It was working. Go ahead.
I'm just going to jump in really quick, Leah. It's Carrie. I'll fix the website. The link.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, friends, go from this place knowing that God loves you so very much, that Jesus came to give us life and to give it abundantly, and that the Holy Spirit surrounds you this day and all days. Go in the peace of Christ. Amen. Friends, stay home, stay safe, stay masked. Have a grateful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next Sunday for the first Sunday in Advent. Amen.